Sarah, you moved from Canada to the UK after losing your job. Take me back to the moment you got the redundancy notice.
Yeah.
And what was the first thing that went through your mind? Not the practical thoughts, but the feeling.
Yeah. So I am Canadian, but I was living in the United States. And for me, losing a job in the United States isn't just losing a job because it's so much more. My work visa for the United States and my pending green card application were both tied to my job. So me learning that I was going to be losing my job meant that I was losing essentially my life in the United States that I had spent 13 years building. And while that is like a very stressful situation, I knew that I just had a big decision to make. Like, do I want to triple down on the US, try and get another job and a new work sponsorship, or do I want to try something different? So I had the feeling of like panic and instability, but I knew in the back of my, I guess, subconscious that this also would provide opportunity. So I did like have to grieve the whole thing about losing your job. And it was very stressful when you learn about this and then you are negotiating with your employer on your separation agreement. That part was incredibly stressful. And I also didn't really have anyone to talk to. So I just felt very lonely. And I think also you have this sense of feeling like a failure. When someone tells you you're being let go, it's hard not to feel like I failed. So I think I was kind of balancing feeling honestly like a failure with also knowing that this wasn't going to be like the end of my life, but I also needed to take time to like process it. So I think it was knowing that this decision was far bigger than me just losing a job. It was me potentially like losing my life as I knew it. But now it being a number of months later, I actually have gotten to the place where I am truly grateful that that happened.
Like they said, sometimes the things that are happening to you are gonna take you to much better places than you have been. But I guess seeing it on at that time and that moment, it's much harder to see the reason for things happening.
Yeah.
And then later on, looking back, you're like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, this happened because of that reason. So
Yeah.
you're grateful, but at the moment, it's very disturbing, I guess,
Yeah.
to go through these challenging times.
Yeah.
And at that point, how much of your identity was tied to that finance career?
My entire identity was tied to my finance career. I loved my job. My job was the head of investor relations and marketing for a private equity fund based in California, so in San Francisco and LA. And I truly loved the people I was working with. I loved what we were investing in. We were investing in better for you beverage or food and beverage and broader consumer companies. And I loved talking about my job. So I think that my identity was completely wrapped up in it. And now I've learned that like I am separate from my job, but I think like that was also part of the hardest part is when you lose something, when that's how you introduce yourself. That's what you're talking about all the time. Like any finance job, like you're not just working a 40-hour work week. It's like an 80 plus hour work week. And so when that's kind of all you're doing and you don't have that much time for social engagements on the side, you don't have like that much time to do anything else. It's like what you're spending all your time doing. So it's just it's hard for it not to be your identity.
Yeah. So you were kind of absorbed in that reality of, working 80 hours a week or whatever.
Yeah.
And because of that, your identity was shaped by whatever the job title was, I guess.
Yeah.
And not having enough time to do anything else is you being fully absorbed in that job title.
Exactly.
Okay. So how did you navigate coming out from that identity of, I'm no longer just the employee.
Yeah.
I actually have life outside of my work.
Yeah. It took time. I will say, like, I had to like process and grieve like the job loss and the title loss. A couple years prior in 2022, I went to this place called the Hoffman Institute, And in this place, it's like a 7-day process. You don't have your phone, you don't have a laptop. And they teach you how to like unlearn negative patterns. And they teach you if you like have low self-worth or low confidence or you think you're not good enough, it's like unlearning that and learning new ways of being. And so actually during this like really tough period while I was losing the job, I relied on a lot of the tools that I had learned in this process to help me kind of get through it. And the main thing that they say is that you should feel the feelings. You should cry and scream and yell and journal and like express yourself and like punch a pillow if you need to, like. And I truly got like, I was really, really sad. But I'm so happy that I expressed it because it allowed me to like get space now from that. And I was able to like kind of fully process like that loss of the job, of the green card application, of the work visa. Also at the same time, I also lost my relationship. So it was like my life as I knew it was just gone. So I think to kind of come back to answer your question, I think by processing that loss, I've now since realized, like, I mean, I'm not my job. I am Sarah, and there are other things that I can do with my time than spending 80 hours a week, or at least 80 hours a week, like working for a company. And I kind of decided that I'm using like this new gift of time that I've been given to really experiment with a number of different things that I'm interested in. And I'm calling 2026 my year of experimentation.
I love it.
So I'm not like, it doesn't feel so scary when it's an experiment. And my identity is I'm still figuring out what this new title will be. But I opened up a business and I am making money helping companies in a variety of ways. I'm also doing content and I'm just going to see what flows.
I love it. And so you said this is the year of making the change happen.
Yeah.
So would you say not losing the job, you would have never got into, I don't know, opening your own business?
Yeah.
Saying yes to everything and really trying to change your life.
Yeah.
But also not moving to London.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. If all this stuff didn't happen, there's no way I would have moved to London. But I have wanted to move to London since I was like 3 years old. I just didn't want to give up on my career in the United States. And with visas and stuff, it's always difficult. Like once you leave the country, then you have to get like a new sponsorship, a new visa. It just becomes more complicated. And I was pretty close to getting the green card application. It just wasn't far enough to port it to a new company. So I really wanted that green card to be able to give myself options. And I always gave myself the excuse, like, I'll open my own business when I get the green card. I will like go after all my dreams when I get the green card. I was using it as a crutch and as an excuse. But at the end of the day, like anyone can open up a business. I don't need to have a green card to do that. But I was using it as an excuse for years. So now that kind of went away, it's like, oh, well, why can't I just go after all those things that I was just delaying and procrastinating on? And it's like anything, once you start, it just then becomes like a flywheel. So with London, I always wanted to move, and frankly, one of the reasons I didn't before is because this visa I qualified for, I aged out of it. It's called the Youth Mobility Visa.
Okay.
But then they changed the laws like a couple years ago, and they changed it to be under 36. So now I requalify. And I was like, oh my God, here's my opportunity to move to London again. And I don't need work sponsorship. You just need like a couple $1,000s to pay for the visa, which covers the NHS. And it was like this opportunity that is closed has now reopened. And now I'm here and I'm like, oh my God, everything happened for a reason.
Yes. And sometimes when opportunities comes, we have to take them.
Yeah.
I feel like we are constantly being presented with opportunities, but sometimes we're so focused with kind of seeing what's in front of us and not seeing the opportunities that are around us. You know? Because when there are opportunities every day coming in, and we just have to kind of go for them, like you said, you know. So just being aware and remember, how do I want to spend the rest of my life? What are the values that I hold for myself? Yeah. And then just go for that instead of just thinking, you know, I can't have this, I can't do that, and finding like different reasons of why we shouldn't be allowing ourselves to have certain things. Yeah. So just remember who we are and how we want to spend the rest of our life.
Yeah.
How do we want to feel spending the rest of our life? Because most of the time it's about, not most of the time, all the time, it's all about the feeling of how do we want to feel.
Yeah.
It's not about what house I want to have or what car I want to have, because essentially everything behind the car and behind the car stays a feeling. Why do I want to have that house, or why do I have that experience? It's because I want to experience a certain type of feeling. And so, like you said, going for what matters, it's much better than just staying in the old identity of I'm unable to have this, I'm unable to have that. And so before losing the job, were there any signs you were already disconnected from the life you were living, or did it genuinely blindsided you?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a great question. There were certain signs that there would be changes in employment. However, I really did think I would be able to get the green card before any changes happened. There was some changes happening at the organization. There was talks about it, and the firm did do like a layoff. So it kind of, the signs were a little bit on the wall. However, timing wise, I wasn't expecting it to be when it was. And my ex-boyfriend, to his credit, I drank the Kool-Aid so hard, and my ex would always say like I think you're like so bought into this. Like, what if something were to happen? Like, you would be so shattered. Like, maybe I would just like ease up a little bit. Like, you shouldn't be so obsessed with something that like this isn't your company. And I think it was like a good lesson where like I drank the Kool-Aid so hard, and so I think I was really blindsided because I really like loved the company and I loved what I was doing and I loved who I was working with. And then when you lose that, you're kind of like, damn, I don't know if I should have like been maybe I was a little naive. And I think at the end of the day, a business is a business, and especially in the United States, U.S. labor law, like you're an at-will employee. So you can be gone the next day. They don't have to give you any warning. So the way that the labor laws are in the U.S., it's just tough. And we see this all over the news right now, right? Like Meta just laid off 8,000 people. A bunch of the big companies, tech companies, are laying off. A lot of companies, obviously, like this is just very common. But in the U.S., it's just at the end of the day, you have to have your own back. And a business is a business, and it's not like a family. Like they can let anyone go at any point. And so I think I was a bit naive into thinking that I was going to be in this job longer, but it's like the business needed to make the business decisions. And at this point, I respect that and I acknowledge that, but it definitely does sting and it hurts the ego when you're going through it.
Of course, I can imagine, because it's almost like someone tells you that you're not good enough.
Exactly.
Although that might not be the case. There might be, so many different reasons of why they've made you redundant, and it might not have anything to do with you.
Yeah.
But it does hurt your ego, and it does hurt your financial situation, of course, day to day.
For sure, yeah.
And, but I wonder if you were to live that experience again, what would you do different?
Yeah, I think I was really angry at first, if I'm being transparent. Angry at myself, angry at the decisions that were made. I'm not an angry person. Like, I'm very happy-go-lucky, but I think I was like very angry and sad, and I took it really personally. And I think looking back, now I can look at it and be like, oh yeah, it was a business decision, blah, blah, blah. But I think in those moments, I wish that I wasn't as hard on myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what not being hard on yourself looks like to you?
Just like realizing like this is just a business. Like this isn't, I think like I did wrap my identity, to your earlier questions, like I had wrapped my identity so tightly around it, and I think I kind of had blinders on. So I think now like I would look at things as more, it's just like it is a business decision. If this happens, like it happens. It's not the end of the world, but it did feel like the end of the world. I mean, obviously it was more complicated with like the work visa and all that.
Yeah.
But everything in life is figure outable. And now that I've had some time and space from that situation, I can see that. In the moment, like, you can't see that though. You're kind of just blinded by it. But I would definitely have just not been as like, probably as mean and hard to myself that I was.
And you said you wouldn't be as much wrapped in that identity. So how would you would have done that different in terms of not being so absorbed by the work? How would your life look like if you were to go back and experience the same thing again?
Yeah. I don't think I would have just only been doing that. Like, I think I would spend a bit more time with have a bit more of a balanced life if possible. Like, socialize more with my friends, spend more time with my family, spend more time on the weekends, like truly decompressing. I just don't feel like I allowed myself to do that. Like, I was going into the office Saturday and Sunday.
Wow.
So I didn't allow myself to have balance. And so by then you just don't have a balanced life. So I think I would have just made sure, like, on the weekends, like, I am like disconnecting from work.
So would you say it's because you're expecting something from the company in return in terms of that's going to help you to get the green card, etc., etc.?
Yeah.
You were overgiven to receive that. And then when that happened, the disappointment hits because you, one, lost the job, and two, you're now losing the chance of getting the green card, which you were working really hard for.
Yeah.
So how would you look at that from a different perspective in terms of understanding that? Would you say that giving without having anything in expecting anything in return would have helped you
for sure
to experience the feeling of being, overgiven, and because of overgiving, expecting something in return. So from more like a spiritual perspective, I wonder whether that would have been a bit different, if there was no expectation and it was just like, I'm just gonna do what I can, you know. I'm just here to do my work. I'll do my work well. And I feel like sometimes we add an additional layer when we have some sort of an expectation. Because when things turn in a different way, where we, we instead of seeing the things as they are, we kind of hoping that things will turn the way we want them to turn. But how much power do we have over, allowing things to be as they are, instead of, I want this to happen or I want that to happen, because that's out of our power, isn't it? And energy.
I totally agree. And it's like, when a door closes, do you like beat down that door to like force your way through, or do you look for another door? So this is where typically I would slam down that door, but it's like, if doors keep slamming, it's time to look for another door or to build your own.
Instead of keep on knocking and hoping.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think the great thing with entrepreneurship is it's like, you just create your own door. Like, you're no longer relying on the door that your employers have. So I think it's obviously a lot more risky. You feel unstable. You're not making a regular paycheck in the way that you were. But the sky's the limit. And I think being like the ultimate decision maker is very empowering as well. So I think that's been like a beautiful thing that I've been learning while building my own business, is the stakes are much higher. It feels way more risky. It is scarier because each client that you sign or don't sign, I mean, that could be like all the food on the table for the month, right? But you do feel much more in control of your own destiny, as opposed to relying on this employer to ensure that I could like live and stay in the United States.
Yeah, or someone deciding, for example, when is your holiday?
Yeah.
How much time you need to spend doing. So kind
Yeah.
of like having someone controlling your time.
Yeah.
Including free time, because you need to ask your employer to approve your holidays if you're lucky to have any.
Yeah.
And there's so much more behind that. So now
Yeah.
that you've been on both sides of employed and a business owner,
Yeah.
can you tell me what's the difference in terms of feeling on day to day?
Yeah. So I try to keep like the same structure, like a 9 to 5, 9 to 6. Like I'm working from coffee shops. I'm treating it like I would be going into like an office. And for me, it's a combo of doing outreach to clients. So what my business is investor relations and marketing as an outsourced function. So it's kind of like my old job, but I'm just doing it outsourced and fractional. And then I'm also working with brands and helping them with content, and I'm doing UGC stuff as well. Okay. So I'd always wanted to get into the content creation world, and I was too scared to do that while I was working for my prior employer in pretty much any role that was very finance heavy. And then when you lose that job, you're like, well, it doesn't matter what my coworkers think, like I can just go for it. And I have personally found thus far, and I'm very new to the game, that the social media game is a game of outsized returns. And if you are working with certain brands, like I can see the path to making a decent amount of money. I am not there yet, but from the brands that I'm working with, it's becoming, I'm making a little bit more every month. So it's encouraging. And so I guess to answer your question, I'm trying a lot of things right now. However, I find it really exciting, and I'm just leaning into the projects that excite me. Okay. And also I have an event production background as well, so I do events. And then I just started this community in London because I felt like I didn't have any girlfriends, and I posted about it on Instagram, and now we have 300 women, and we are doing our first ticketed event, and things are just exploding. And I'm like, okay, this just feels easeful. And it's like, what feels easeful?
Yeah, what makes you happy, and I guess what you get excited about.
Yeah. Exactly.
And on the community event, I have joined as well. So,
yay!
I will link the community website in the description. So for anyone that feels lonely and needs some friendships, I think that's the best place to be and meet like-minded people.
Exactly.
Which is amazing, because I've been living in London for years, and I always struggle to meet people, because you're so absorbed in your day-to-day, going to work, coming back home, or if you work for yourself, you spend a lot of time on your own, working from coffee shops or whatever, co-working spaces, and it's challenging, in a big city in your 30s to make new meaningful connections, I mean, if I go back home, of course I have my friends that I've grown up with, of course I have, family members, cousins, whatever. Yeah. But moving, to a new city, like you've moved from Canada to London, it could be challenging, for everyone to navigate the change. And you essentially want to talk to people about the good and not so good, and you want to have some sort of a, I guess, support to just have open conversations with people.
100%.
And to move on our conversation, what would you say was the hardest part to admit to yourself during the period of being made redundant and after losing the job?
The hardest was realizing that if I'm going to fix this, I'm the only one that can fix this. Like, my life is my responsibility, and I am 100% responsible to fix this and to find new employment, make money, figure out where I'm going to be living. It's like, it's on me. And there's no victim mentality, even though I wanted to feel like a victim in the moment. But it's like, no. Like, there's no victimhood. Like, this is on me to fix. But it's also like a blank page. And it's like, how do I want my life to look? Because I thought it was going to look like this, and this just evaporated. So it's kind of like life 2.0. And you have enough experience and skills that you're like, all right, I'm in my mid-30s. Like, why not write down all of my craziest dreams and just go after them? Like, there's no excuse. Just go for it.
Because if you wake up 20 years later, at least you'll be like, okay, Sarah, well, maybe it didn't work, but at least I've tried. Or, you know what, I absolutely smashed it, and I'm so glad I've tried that.
Exactly.
Right? And I know it's so easier said than done. But like you said, it's much harder to be stuck in a place where you don't want to be.
Yeah.
You know you've outgrown the job or the relationship or the community or the country. Maybe you want to go and, I don't know, live in Bali. Who cares? Exactly. Go and try, and if it doesn't work, you can always go back. Exactly. You can always find a job 9 to 5. Yeah. You can always do so many of these things, but we've been given another day to live. Yeah. To try again. Mm-hmm. And as long as we are still here and being given another day to live, there is still a chance for us. There is still, we're being given another chance to do something else, to do something better. Yeah. And so did you feel like you should be grateful, and that made it harder to acknowledge how you actually felt when you were at your finance role? So going through the 80 plus hours a week, etc.
You know, those jobs are really tough they're just really tough. Like, you got to really love what you're doing. And I did love my team, and I did love what I was doing. But it is hard when you're like also building someone else's dream for 80 hours a week. And I think in the back of my head, I always kept thinking, what if I was spending this time on my own company doing... Right. And while I did love my job, I mean, it wasn't mine at the end of the day. And so I think there's an aspect where I'm like, okay, if I spent that same amount of time on my own business, like, think about how far I could get in a month or 6 months or a year. So I think that now I feel grateful for what had happened. It definitely took time to feel that way, but now I'm grateful that I get this opportunity to just go after all the things I wanted to. And I think one question I get, especially on Instagram a lot, is like, how did you afford to move to London? How did you afford to be able to now work for yourself? And I'll be honest, I mean, I worked in finance for a really long time, so I did have some savings. Yeah. 2 is I sold all of my stuff in LA. I sold my car. I sold every single one of my items on Facebook Marketplace for the most part. And number 3 is I have been working with clients like ever since I lost my job. So I do have some money coming in. Has it replaced my full-time job? Absolutely not. I probably make a quarter of what I was making, but I've also reduced my expenses. And this has been uncomfortable, of course, but I see this as like the beginning of something greater. And while you're also experimenting, I mean, you have to be okay with making less money because you're just trying different things. So I think I've just gotten comfortable with making a lot less and knowing that I have to live life on a lower level than what I was before. But I am a lot happier now being able to work on projects that I'm really excited by. And a lot of it when you start off with a business is learning how to price yourself. I'm like, what do I charge a brand for XYZ? What do I charge a family office to do their investor event? What do I charge? And so you're kind of learning as you go as well. And so certain things take longer, certain things take less time, but it's all figuring it out. Yeah. But I am trying, and it's not probably the safe, stable way that a lot of people would want. But for me, I'm willing to take that risk.
But also it's like you're saying it's not the safest way like many people would have want, but what is safe, you know? Because you could lose your job from one day to another. Yeah. So that is not much safer than doing something on your own. True. And doing what you love. Yeah. Maybe, like you said, you're not going to earn as much as you've been earning before. But that's also a discussion I have with some of my clients when I do the coaching session, because that the money is a big aspect, isn't it? If you want to quit your job or if you want to start your own thing, how do you navigate that? And I always say, you know, the first thing is you want to sit down and write down the absolute necessary expenses that you have to cover through the month. I'm not talking about saving emergency money for emergencies. I'm not talking about saving for holidays, new clothes, etc. You know, you wear what you have. So sit down and be very honest and see how much actually I need to survive. I'm not saying that you have to, you know, do nothing,
Yeah.
but I'm saying the absolute minimum. And you know, people being surprised of, well, actually, I don't need to work full time, for example. So then, you know, they go from full time to part time, and then with the rest of the time, they start building something on their own.
Yeah.
Or that might be like, well, actually, maybe I need to save for a year, you know, and then give myself the opportunity to go part-time or to fully leave the job. So
Yeah.
money is a big aspect. And of course, you know, in a big city like London as well,
Yeah.
where everything is, you know, quite expensive to
Yeah.
live, you have to be prepared.
Yeah.
But like you said, you also have to be very transparent with yourself and understand sometimes you have to sacrifice some things to be able to achieve more. So maybe that could look like, well, I'm not going to buy clothes for a year. Like you said, you know, you've sold everything in LA to be able to come here and start again. But you know, it's a good way to look at life and think, you know, am I attached to the tangible things? And I want to continue making a lot of money to spend a lot of money and live unfulfilled life? Or do I want to start building something that's going to be more meaningful? I'm going to make less money, but I'm going to be more happier.
Yeah.
So it comes down back to values and what do you value in your life? What's important for you? How do you want to live your life?
Yeah.
And so on.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And did you feel like moving from Canada to the UK alone was a decision that came from leaving the job primarily? I mean, you said that you always wanted to move to the UK since you were like 3 years old. Was that like the push where you needed to make the decision to move to?
Yeah, if I didn't lose my job, I wouldn't have moved. I wouldn't have moved. I just know that I would have stayed until I got the green card. And then when you get a green card, you have to stay in the US for X amount of days every year. Okay. So it would have made moving to the UK probably not make sense. So it's just, I find it almost funny. I'm like, wow, there's like a greater power out there that... Because I said goodbye to my UK dreams. I just figured it just doesn't make sense. I've worked so hard on my US career. And I think there's this feeling when you've been doing this path for so long, you kind of want to keep doubling down on it. And then when you feel like you have to abandon ship, you're like, oh, but what about all this? Like, I've been working towards this. But realistically, like, you can start over at any point. And it doesn't mean this is wasted.
Yeah.
It just is adding to your overall lived experience. But I think I kept thinking, and this is kind of goes the same with relationships, right? Like if you have this feeling you want to end the relationship or it's not working out and you're like, but I invested 5 years. And it's, but you invested 5 years. But if you're not happy, it's better invest 5 than 10 or 10 than 15. Right. And so with the US, I kind of was like, oh, I'm abandoning my 13-year career here that I worked so hard for. But it's like, everything's figure outable. If I want to move back to the US or to Canada, I can. But here's like an opportunity to try something else. And it doesn't mean that like all of this was a waste.
And I feel like a lot of people are staying in jobs they outgrown as people like 20, 30 years. And they're like, but you know, I've achieved this job title and I make this amount of money. I don't want that to go into waste, but you're not happy. Yeah. So you rather start again, and again it could take you to a much more meaningful place where you'll be living more alive life than just, you know, just stay and continue, like you said, doing something that is not for you. Yeah. Just because you invested this amount of time.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And so when did starting over stop feeling like failure and start feeling like something else? Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, I do. It's when I was taking the flight from Toronto to London.
Understandably.
Yeah, it was in February. It felt like a really slow burn at the end of my job because I learned I'd be losing my job in September. My last day was in December, and then I was able to stay in the U.S. for 60 days on my work visa. And so the magic date was like mid-February when I left, and I remember I went to a wedding in Bahamas for one of my dear friends, and I was at the wedding, and I just kept thinking oh, my life in the US is done. Like, this is so sad. But I had a great time at the wedding. But that was probably like the first time where I was like, I had so much fun at that wedding, and I didn't have work to do. Like, I just completely unplugged. But then the first time where I was like, wow, life is just going to get way more exciting is when I was on that flight from Toronto to London. And I'm like, all right, let's see where this goes. And I felt like it felt like the first time again that I was taking the power back of my life.
Because genuinely you were so excited, and I feel like
Yeah.
following what excites you, it will take you much further than from, for example, oh, I have to do this, and just trying to make sense of every
Yeah.
single step.
Yeah.
So focusing on the feeling of what makes you excited,
Yeah.
If moving to London makes you excited, well, go for it.
Yeah.
Rather than, oh, well, I should have stayed, and
Yeah.
trying to be hard on yourself, etc., etc. So now that your relationship ended,
Yes.
and you moved to the UK, how do you feel about this part of your identity now of being single in your 30s?
Yeah. I mean, comparison is the thief of joy, but I'd be lying if I said that I don't sometimes compare myself to others. I didn't necessarily think when I turned 35 I would be single, no kids, like unmarried, no dating prospects. But I've also been sharing about that online, and there are so many other women that are in the exact same boat. And I personally would always rather be single than be in the wrong relationship. And ultimately, my last relationship didn't work out because we were on different timelines. And that's totally fine. But I also know that I want to be with someone that wants the same things as me on the same timeline. And it's like, I could just double down and kind of force my way in that relationship, but it's like those things shouldn't feel forced. And so I am hopelessly optimistic that things will work out, and I just truly trust in the universe that they will. And I have I believe in manifestation, and I know like the qualities of someone that I'm looking for, not like what they look like not them being 6 foot tall and brown hair. Like, none of that stuff to me actually really matters. The attraction piece needs to be there, but what I really care about is like how I want to feel being around them, and what are like the qualities that they have. So yeah, I would say I'm really like hopeful. And I think being single is extremely empowering in your 30s because you know yourself better, and you know what you're looking for a little bit better. And I feel like it's like a second chance at life when it comes to like dating. And so I'm like excited. I think there's obviously in your 30s, like women typically feel like there's like a ticking clock, but I really don't feel like that anymore. I am going to be freezing my eggs, so there is some form of insurance policy that I will have there, but I just feel like there's no rush, oddly, and I feel like excited by the future. And I can't wait to like be married one day, but I'd rather it be like the right situation and be like really happy, on the same page and on the same timeline.
So basically you're saying putting pressure is not necessary.
No.
Because I feel like you said sharing your life with someone who shares the same values as you is more important than just being with someone for the sake of being
100%.
with someone. And I feel like this is something that we witness happening a lot as well, where people are just telling themselves, you know what, I'm in my mid-30s or my late 30s or in my 30s in general. The time is here. I'd rather get in with someone, and then 10 years later, they hit divorce because the desperation of being with someone over making sure you share the same values as your partner. Because if you don't, if one person has, let's say if you want to have kids with someone and one of you has a different understanding of how they want to bring up their kids, your kids, how would that work? Obviously there will be some sort of a misunderstanding because we both have a different vision of sharing different values of how you want your kids to be brought up, for example. And so spending the time to find the right person.
Yeah.
It's more worth than, I'm in my 30s and I need to get in with someone because the clock is ticking.
Exactly.
Like you said, that's a big topic now.
Yeah.
And I see where people are coming from. It comes a time where if you want to have kids, of course it's, you have to do the necessary steps, which you are doing, like you said. But also, I don't know, having the kids with the wrong person,
That would be
isn't that
really
a bigger,
stressful.
a bigger price to pay after? I guess.
100%.
100%. So taking your time and enjoying your life and do the things that excite you and focusing on what you have rather than what you don't have.
Exactly.
It's how you're going to manifest the right person to come.
Yes.
Okay. And so what do you know about yourself now that the old version of you was too afraid to look at? It's a big question.
Yeah, I think I know that I will just always figure it out no matter what. And I have this underlying confidence that no matter like what curveball comes my way, I will be fine and I'll figure it out. And I think to get to that place, you have to have like a lot of shit go wrong.
Yeah.
But then when you rise up from it, it just builds that resilience. So I think I just know I'll figure it out. So it's just knowing that like no matter what, you'll be fine.
I love it. Also because you've gone through so much in such a short period of time of like ending a relationship, made redundant, changing your life completely to move to the UK.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I would also think if you're able to do this, you can do anything in this life, So there is no doubt on that.
Yeah.
And if someone is sitting and watching right now, what is the one thing you want them to feel after hearing your story?
Just to believe them in themselves and that they have the tools and resources to be able to figure it out. And your life isn't over. I think when one door closes, another opens, or you can build your own. And when you are faced with adversity, that is just part of life. Life is not this, like, it's not like this. There's ups and downs, there's peaks and valleys. And I think the valleys will teach you way more about yourself than the peaks will. But knowing in your heart and in your soul that you can figure it out, that will just help you and you'll end up in a better situation. You just have to trust the process.
I love it. Thank you. And one last question to you today is, what does align mean to you in your actual day-to-day life now?
I think alignment is like a feeling that you have where you feel like everything is flowing and things are easeful and you feel happy and it doesn't feel forced. I think I know what the feeling of unaligned is when you're in a job and it's stressful, you feel like you're on eggshells, the relationship isn't right. And I think it's like the opposite is really where you just feel truly happy. So I think I correlate aligned and happiness.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. And hopefully whoever is watching will resonate with everything that you have to say.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.